I was surprised when he walked into the house. The sunlight danced through the kitchen window, illuminating the dusty corners filled with memories. Today was supposed to be a normal day, but my son Mark had a different plan. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady yet laced with an intensity I hadn't heard before. My heart raced. Was I prepared for whatever it was he was about to say? With a serious look on his face, he told me he was leaving for his new wife, a woman I barely knew. I felt the air around me thicken, my breath catching in my throat. His words cut deep, like a knife through my heart. "Mark, what do you mean?" I could barely form the words, a wave of disbelief crashing over me. "You're leaving?" He nodded, and I felt the weight of abandonment sink in, the crumbling of my world. I had devoted my life to him, raising him to be a man of integrity, yet here he was, choosing someone else over his own mother. "It's not that simple, Mom. I love her," he replied, his eyes darting away. How could he say that? I thought. What about our bond, our history? As I stood there, frozen, surrounded by the remnants of our shared life, his childhood photos, the trophies I had proudly displayed, the family dinners filled with laughter and love, I could hardly process the shock. "Mark, this is my home. Where will I go?" I asked, my voice trembling with fear. "I don't know, Mom, but I need to be with her," he said, his tone softening for just a moment. I wanted to scream, to shake him, and make him understand the depth of my pain. Could I really become homeless at my age? My mind raced with questions and fears. Would I fight to reclaim what was rightfully mine? Or would I succumb to despair? Before we jump back into this mess, tell me where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. You don't have to do this. We can work things out. I pleaded, hoping against hope that he would reconsider. "I've made up my mind," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." And just like that, he was gone, leaving a void that felt larger than the house itself. I stood alone, the silence echoing around me, a stark contrast to the bustling life I had known. What now? I wondered. I felt lost, abandoned, and utterly shattered. My heart ached not just for the loss of my son, but for the life I had built around him, now crumbling like the dust settling on the kitchen counter. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the floor, I felt a flicker of determination ignite within me. I had spent so many years nurturing him, teaching him about strength and resilience. Could I not embody those very lessons now? I would not let despair take hold without a fight. I needed to reclaim my legacy, my home, and most importantly, my dignity. Would I rise from the ashes of this heartbreak, or let it consume me? Could I find the strength to take back what was mine? Tomorrow would be a new day, and I had to believe that there was still hope. I sat in my chair, the warmth of the sun streaming through the window, yet I felt an undeniable chill in my heart. Memories flooded back to me, each one sharper than the last. I remembered the countless sleepless nights spent caring for Mark as a child, the sacrifices I made for his happiness. How many times had I rocked him back to sleep after a nightmare? How many dinners did I prepare just to see him smile? I thought of the birthday parties, the school plays, the day he graduated. Each memory was a thread in the fabric of our lives, now fraying. I could hear my heart beating loudly in the silence, a reminder of my loneliness. I had always been there for him, even when his father left us. Now I felt like a ghost in my own home, wandering through the echoes of laughter from happier times. The Walls felt oppressive, holding me captive in my sadness. I had poured my soul into raising him, yet here I was, abandoned by the very person I had nurtured. I could almost hear his voice, filled with excitement as he opened gifts or sang on stage, but now those sounds were replaced with an aching silence. I needed to confront this pain head-on, to find a way to reclaim my dignity. Would I let my son's choices define my worth? I felt a flicker of anger rise within me. No, I decided I would fight back. I would not let my spirit be crushed. I thought of all the lessons I had taught him, all the love I had given. I had built a life for him, and I deserved to live a life of my own. I needed to find my strength once again. How did I let it come to this? I wondered, my heart heavy with betrayal and confusion. I had sacrificed so much, yet I was left with nothing. I needed to remind myself of who I was, not just as Mark's mother, but as a woman with dreams and desires of my own. I gazed around the room at the photographs lined up on the mantel, capturing moments frozen in time. There was us at the beach, where he splashed in the waves with sheer joy, and the time we planted flowers in the garden together, dirt under our nails, and laughter in the air. Each image was a reminder of a bond that once felt unbreakable. But now, that bond seemed shattered. I could almost hear the laughter of friends and family faded into the backdrop of my life. I longed for companionship, someone to share my thoughts and fears with, but all I had was solitude, the silence a stark contrast to the vibrant life I had built. I thought about reaching out to friends, about rekindling old connections. Perhaps I could join a community group or take up painting again. Something to fill the void. I needed to rediscover myself outside of being a mother. I can do this, I reminded myself. I had done it before. I had faced challenges that felt insurmountable, and yet here I was. I would not be a victim of my circumstances. I would rise from this stronger than before. As I contemplated my next steps, I felt a tiny spark of hope ignite within me. I would find a way to reclaim my life. I would not let the choices of others dictate my future. I am more than what has happened to me. I whispered to myself, a mantra I would hold on to tightly, and with that, I stood up, straightened my back, and took a deep breath. The air felt different, lighter somehow. I was ready to confront the world outside, to reclaim what was mine. What would I discover about myself in this journey? Could it be that this was the beginning of something new? I had always thought of the community center as a haven, a place where friendships blossomed over cups of steaming coffee, and the scent of fresh pastries filled the air. But it had been years since I last stepped inside, and the thought of returning sent a chill through me. Still, I knew I had to confront my fears. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. As I entered, warmth enveloped me like a familiar embrace. The chatter and laughter of people mingled with the aroma of baked goods, and I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. Then, my eyes landed on her, Helen. She looked older, her hair streaked with silver, but her smile was just as radiant. As I remembered, I rushed over and we embraced tightly, as though we were afraid to let go. "Oh, Helen," I whispered, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too," she replied, holding me at arm's length and studying my face. "You look... well, how have you been?" I took a moment, gathering my thoughts. "Well, not so great, to be honest. My son, he left me homeless for his new wife." The words tumbled out, heavy with the weight of loss and betrayal. Helen's eyes widened with compassion. "Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear that. How could he do that to you?" "It's been hard," I admitted, feeling the tension in my chest begin to ease as I spoke. "I've been trying to find my footing again. But I feel lost, like I've lost everything that mattered." Helen nodded, her expression softening. "You're not alone in this. You know, many of us have faced our own battles. It's easy to feel isolated, but we can lean on each other." I felt a flicker of hope at her words. "You're right. I used to find so much strength in this community." "Exactly," Helen said, her voice firm. "We've always been here for one another. Remember our knitting circle? We'd sit for hours, sharing stories and laughter. We can do that again." A smile tugged at my lips at the memory. Those were good times. I suppose I forgot how much I needed that connection. "Let's rekindle it," she urged. "We can gather the others, share our stories, and create a support network. You'd be amazed at how many people are struggling in silence." As I listened to her, a spark ignited within me. I wasn't just a victim of circumstances. I had the power to make a difference. "Could we really do that?" I asked, my heart racing at the thought. "Of course. We just need to spread the word. We can host meetings, share resources, and remind each other that we're not alone," Helen said, her enthusiasm contagious. I felt a swell of determination rise within me. "I want to help. I want to take action. This can't just be my story. It can be a story of resilience for all of us." Helen's eyes shone with pride. "That's the spirit. Together we can uplift one another. It's time to reclaim our lives." As we spoke, the chatter of the community center faded into the background. It was just Helen and me, two women bound by shared experiences, ready to forge a path forward. I could see it clearly now. A network of support, laughter, and love rising from the ashes of loss. But then a thought struck me, a question that lingered in the air. What if my pain could become a catalyst for change? In that moment, I realized I was not just taking back what was mine. I was stepping into a larger legacy, one that could inspire others to rise with me. It was time to reclaim my story and embrace the power of community. In the days that followed, I began to formulate a plan. My heart felt heavy, but I knew I couldn't stay lost in despair. I started attending community meetings, eager to learn about the resources available for seniors. Each meeting was a lifeline, a chance to connect with others who shared their stories of hardship and resilience. I listened as they spoke about their struggles, their triumphs, and their dreams. It was inspiring to see how we all fought to keep our dignity intact. Together, we formed a support network, a small community that felt like home. One afternoon, while discussing our experiences over lukewarm coffee, someone mentioned a local advocacy group fighting for housing rights for the elderly. My heart raced at the thought. This was my chance, my opportunity to reclaim not only my home, but also my dignity. I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. "I have to join them," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. The others nodded, their faces reflecting the same determination I felt. I knew my voice could make a difference. So I dove in head first, beginning to write letters to local officials, sharing my story of loss and heartache. Each letter was a cathartic release, a testament to my strength. I gathered signatures for our petition, feeling a sense of purpose bloom with each name added. The more I spoke up, the more empowered I felt. It was as if I was shedding the layers of doubt that had clung to me for so long. I could see the world around me shifting, slowly but surely. Every voice matters. I reminded my new friends during one meeting. Even ours. They nodded, and I could see the spark of hope in their eyes growing brighter. Yet, even as I pushed forward, doubts lingered. Would my efforts lead to real change? What if no one listened? I wrestled with these thoughts late into the night, questioning my courage. But each morning as I stepped into the sun, I made a promise to myself. I would not give up. As I navigated this new chapter, I found myself reflecting on my past, my years as a mother, the love I had poured into my family, the dreams I had once held dear. I realized that those memories shaped me, but they didn't have to define my future. During one particularly charged meeting, as we brainstormed strategies, a woman named Clara stood up. "We need to make them see us," she said, her voice strong and unwavering. "We have stories worth telling. We deserve to be heard." Her words resonated with me. I could feel my heart beating, a steady rhythm of resolve. Yes, we had stories that could inspire change. I found myself sharing my own story, recounting how my son had left me homeless, how I had felt invisible. The room fell silent, every eye on me. And in that moment, I felt a wave of connection wash over us all. It was a powerful reminder that we were not alone. "Together we can make a difference," I said, my voice growing stronger with each word. "Let's show them that we deserve our voices to be heard." The group erupted in applause, and I felt a warmth spread through me. I was no longer just a woman fighting for her own home. I was part of a movement. As I left the meeting that day, I took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill my lungs. I was determined to fight not just for myself, but for every elderly person who felt forgotten, for those who had lost their homes and their dignity. I knew my journey would be long and fraught with challenges, but I was ready. Would I find the strength to reclaim what was mine? As I prepared for the meeting at the community center, I felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Here I was, an old woman with stories etched into the lines of my face, about to share my journey with a room full of young faces. I hoped they would listen, that they would see beyond the years that separated us. I wanted to bridge the gap between our worlds. When the students arrived, their youthful energy filled the room, laughter echoing against the walls. They were bright-eyed, curious, and ready to engage. I welcomed them, feeling the warmth of their presence. "Thank you all for coming today," I began, my voice steady but my heart racing. "I want to share with you some of the experiences that shaped my life, especially the pain of losing my son to a new family. It's not just about loss, it's about understanding." The room quieted, their attention shifting to me. I could see the wheels turning in their minds as I spoke, recounting moments that felt like both yesterday and a lifetime ago. I shared how the pain of abandonment had almost consumed me, how I had fought to reclaim my sense of self and purpose. "Sometimes," I said, my voice softening, "we forget that each generation has its struggles. I want to understand your world too. What challenges do you face? What dreams do you hold?" One brave young woman raised her hand. "What do you think we could learn from your experiences?" I smiled, grateful for her question. "Empathy. It's easy to judge from a distance. But when we share our stories, we realize we're not so different after all. We each have our battles, our losses, and our victories." The students began to open up, sharing their own stories, their fears, about the future, their hopes for change. I listened intently, each word weaving a tapestry of connection between us. The room was charged with an energy I hadn't felt in years. As I looked around, I realized that, in our shared vulnerability, we were crafting something beautiful, a bridge between the past and the future. Each voice added a layer to our understanding. It was as if time had collapsed into this moment, where wisdom and youth converged, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Can we really make a difference?" one boy asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I nodded, the weight of his question settling in my heart. "We can. Change begins with conversation. We may not solve everything today, but every time we talk, we take a step closer to understanding each other." The discussions flowed, laughter mingling with serious reflections. I could see the realization dawning on their faces. Communication could bridge the divides we often felt. As the meeting came to a close, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope. We had shared our stories, our struggles, and our dreams. I had witnessed the spark of empathy ignite in the eyes of these young people. "Thank you for sharing with us," one girl said as we wrapped up. "I didn't realize how much we could learn from you." I smiled, my heart swelling with pride. "And I didn't realize how much I could learn from you. Together we can create a brighter future." As they filed out of the room, I held on to that hope tightly. Could this connection truly lead to something greater? Only time would tell, but I felt the winds of change stirring, and for the first time in a long while, I believed in the possibility of a better tomorrow. As the weeks passed, I felt my confidence grow. I had been invited to speak at a local rally, sharing our cause with a larger audience. The night before the event, I practiced my speech in front of the mirror, though my heart raced with anxiety. Would I be able to convey the depth of my emotions? The next day, standing before a crowd of supportive faces, I took a deep breath. I could feel the air thick with anticipation. I began to speak from my heart about the dignity of aging, the importance of family, and the power of community. I remembered the pain of betrayal, the feeling of being discarded like yesterday's news. Yet here I was, finding strength in vulnerability and letting my voice be heard. When the applause erupted, it felt like a warm embrace. In that moment, I realized I was not just reclaiming my home. I was reclaiming my voice. Could I truly inspire change? I felt it was possible. As I stood there, bathed in the glow of understanding and compassion, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The loneliness, the heartache, and the struggle had all been stepping stones, leading to this new beginning. I looked out at the crowd, their faces filled with empathy, and I felt a connection that transcended my personal story. This was about all of us, about anyone who had ever felt lost or discarded. After the rally, a woman approached me. Her eyes sparkled with gratitude. "Thank you for sharing your story," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I felt so alone, but you made me see that we can stand together." Her words warmed my heart. I knew then that my journey was not just about reclaiming my past. It was about forging a future where we could uplift one another. I had been given a platform, and I intended to use it wisely. Sought out other voices in the community, those who had faced similar struggles. Each story was a thread in the tapestry of our shared experience, weaving together a narrative of resilience and hope. We formed a support group, meeting weekly in a small local hall, where laughter mingled with tears, and every voice was cherished. One evening, as we sat in a circle, I listened to a man speak about losing his job at 60. "I thought I was washed up," he confessed, his voice breaking. "But now I'm learning to paint. It's never too late to start over." His words resonated deeply with me. I realized that we were all in a continuous process of becoming. Life does not end. With age, it transforms. Each of us carried stories of loss and rebirth. I felt a surge of determination. I began to organize workshops, inviting speakers to share their journeys of rediscovery. We discussed everything from starting new careers to embracing hobbies that had long been forgotten. The community buzzed with energy, a newfound sense of purpose igniting within us. Every workshop felt like a celebration of life, a reminder that even in the twilight years we could still shine brightly. I learned that the power of connection was a force greater than I had ever imagined. Through the stories we shared, we uplifted one another, creating a network of support that transcended age and circumstance. Yet, even amidst this growth, I carried a weight in my heart. I thought of my son, the man who had once been my world. I still grappled with feelings of betrayal and heartbreak, but I also recognized that my journey was my own. I no longer needed his validation to feel worthy. One day I received a call from him. "Mom," he said, his voice shaky. "Can we talk?" My heart raced. What could he possibly say? I took a deep breath. "What do you want to talk about?" "I want to apologize," he began, and I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to slam the door shut, but another part yearned for closure. As we spoke, I realized that forgiveness was a gift I could give myself, not just him. I had embarked on a journey of healing, and I was ready to embrace the next chapter of my life. The past would always be a part of me, but it didn't have to define my future. With every step forward, I felt lighter, more alive, and more connected to the world around me. This was not just a new beginning for me. It was a new beginning for all of us. I smiled at the thought of what lay ahead. What would our collective voices achieve together? I sat on my porch, the sun casting long shadows across the weathered wood, reflecting on my recent victories. I had fought hard for my independence, reclaiming my life after losing everything I once held dear. Just as I was savoring this quiet moment, a sharp knock at the door startled me from my thoughts. I opened it to find Mark, my son. He stood there looking different, more mature perhaps, but the same sadness lingered in his eyes. I hesitated, memories flooding back, but something compelled me to step aside and invite him in. The air between us was thick with unspoken words, the weight of past grievances hanging like a storm cloud. "Hey, Mom," he started, shifting nervously. "I've been thinking a lot about, well, everything." His voice was softer than I remembered, tinged with an honesty that caught me off guard. I wanted to scream, to remind him of the pain he caused, but instead I just nodded. We settled at the kitchen table, and as I poured the tea, the familiar ritual felt strangely comforting. "I miss our connection," he confessed, looking down at the steaming cup in front of him. "Things are different now. I love my wife, but I feel like I've lost a part of myself." I listened, my heart torn between anger and longing. He spoke of his new life, the challenges he faced, but beneath it all, I could sense a yearning for something more, a connection to the past, to our shared history. I wanted to remind him of the hurt, to tell him how he had left me homeless, abandoned, but the words caught in my throat. "Do you remember the summers we spent in the garden?" I found myself asking, my voice barely above a whisper. "You used to love helping me plant the roses." His eyes brightened for a moment, a flicker of the boy I once knew shining through. "I do. I remember the smell of the earth, and how you always said that care and love made them bloom." There was a vulnerable honesty in his gaze, and I felt the walls of resentment begin to crumble, brick by brick. I couldn't help but reflect on the years we spent together, The laughter, the struggles, and the love that had once defined us. "Mark," I said, my voice steady but laced with emotion. "I don't want to be angry anymore. I want to understand you, to know who you've become." He nodded, and I could see the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. "I've made mistakes, Mom. Leaving you behind was the hardest thing I ever did. I thought I was making the right choice, but it only led to emptiness." As we talked, I realized that we were both caught in a web of pain and misunderstanding. The room felt charged with the possibility of healing. Could we rebuild our relationship? Was there a chance for reconciliation? These questions danced between us, unspoken yet palpable. I took a deep breath, letting the warmth of our conversation wash over me. "It won't be easy, you know. Trust takes time, and we both have our scars." "I'm willing to try," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I just want you to know that I'm here, and I want to make things right." In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps we could navigate this tangled web together, find a new path forward. The journey would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of possibility. As our dialogue flowed, we began to weave together the threads of our past, slowly stitching a new narrative. The echoes of laughter and love seemed to fill the empty spaces between us, reminding me that beneath the hurt, there was still a bond waiting to be rekindled. Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected visitor was the first step toward healing. Sitting across from Mark at the kitchen table, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me. The air was thick with unspoken words, and our conversation began as a tentative dance around the elephant in the room. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Mark," I started, my voice trembling slightly. "I need to tell you how much pain I've felt since you left. It's like a part of me went missing." He looked down, his fingers nervously tracing the grain of the wooden table. I could see the weight of my words pressing down on him. "I thought it would be easier," he finally confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm struggling to adjust to this new life. I feel torn." Tears welled in his eyes, and I could see the boy I once knew, lost in the man he was trying to become. "You're still my son," I said, the words escaping as more of a plea than a statement. "We've been through so much together. I just want us to find our way back to each other." He looked up, and for a brief moment I saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. "I miss the way things used to be," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I miss us." As we talked, nostalgia wrapped around us like a warm blanket. Memories flowed, filling the silence with laughter and shared stories. We spoke of summer picnics in the park, his childhood birthday parties, and the time he got his first bicycle. Each recollection was a thread, weaving us closer together, reminding us of the bond we once had. "I remember the time you taught me how to ride that bike," he said, a smile breaking through the tears. "You were so patient, even when I kept falling." "Of course I was. I wanted you to fly," I replied, chuckling softly. "And you did, didn't you? You soared." In that moment, I realized that healing was beginning to take root. We were both yearning for connection, a desire to mend what had been broken. The pain of our recent past still lingered, but it was no longer the only thing between us. "Do you think we can really fix this?" he asked, uncertainty clouding his gaze. "I believe we can," I said, my heart swelling with a mix of hope and determination. "But it will take time and patience. We have to be willing to face the hurt and be honest with each other." He nodded, and I could see he was processing my words. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but as long as we were willing to walk it together, I had faith that we could rebuild our relationship, brick by brick. "Let's take it one day at a time," I suggested. "We can start by just being here for each other." "Yeah," he agreed, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "One day at a time." As we continued to talk, the kitchen filled with the warmth of our shared memories, the past intertwining with the present. I could feel the layers of tension slowly dissolving, replaced by the fragile threads of understanding and love. And in that small moment, I knew we were on the path to healing. I never imagined I'd be sitting across from my son, the man I once cradled in my arms, now a stranger in some ways. As we spoke, the air felt thick with unspoken words and emotions. It was in those moments that we began to peel back the layers, revealing the heart of our struggles. "Mom, I didn't leave because I wanted to hurt you," Mark said, his voice trembling slightly. "I felt like I was drowning under all these expectations, the pressure to be what everyone wanted me to be. It was suffocating." I listened, my heart aching as I realized how much he had been carrying. How often do we forget that our children bear their own burdens? I had been so focused on my own pain, the loneliness that had crept in since he left, that I hadn't seen the storm brewing inside him. "Mark, I understand," I replied, my voice softening. "But when you left, it felt like a part of me was taken away. I lost my sense of purpose." He looked down, and I could see the guilt etched on his face. "I didn't think about that. I just wanted to escape, but I didn't realize what I was leaving behind." As we shared our vulnerabilities, the walls between us began to crumble. I felt a flicker of hope. We talked about the mistakes we both made, the misunderstandings that had driven a wedge between us. I spoke of the void his absence created, how my identity had been so tied to being his mother that I had lost sight of my own needs. "I've been so lonely, Mark. Every day feels like a reminder of what I've lost. I thought if I let you go, I could find a way to move on. Instead, I just feel empty." He nodded, his eyes glistening. "I'm sorry, Mom. I thought leaving would make everything better, but it didn't. I realize now that I was just running away from my own problems." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our shared truths hanging in the air. Could we really heal the wounds of the past? I wanted to believe we could. "Forgiveness is hard," I said finally, "but I think we both need to try, for ourselves and for each other." He took a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing. "I want that too. I want to understand you better and maybe, in the process, understand myself." The conversation flowed, like a river, sometimes calm and reflective, other times turbulent with emotion. We spoke of dreams unfulfilled and paths unexplored. As we shared our stories, I felt the years of distance slowly fading away. "Do you remember the summer we spent at the lake?" I asked, a smile creeping onto my face. "You were so afraid of the water, but you ended up swimming like a fish." He chuckled softly, the sound warming my heart. "And you were there cheering me on, even when I wanted to give up. I think that's where I learned that it's okay to be afraid, but you can't let it stop you." I nodded, feeling a sense of nostalgia wash over me, a reminder of the bond we once had. "You've always been brave, Mark. You just needed to find that part of yourself again." As we continued to talk, I felt a renewed sense of hope for our relationship. What if we could rebuild what was lost? What if we could create a new legacy together, one defined not by hurt, but by understanding and compassion. With each word, I could see the possibility of a brighter future taking shape. I wanted to believe that we could emerge from this darkness stronger, that we could learn to forgive ourselves and each other. But would it be enough? Together, we began to chart a new course, one that acknowledged our past mistakes, but also embraced the promise of redemption. In that moment, I felt the first stirrings of healing, a fragile but undeniable connection rekindling between a mother and her son. I never imagined that volunteering at the community center would lead to healing in my relationship with Mark. When we first started working together, it felt like stepping into a new chapter filled with uncertainty. But as we organized events for seniors, I discovered a refreshing energy between us. "Can you believe how many people signed up for the potluck?" I said one afternoon, as we set up tables covered in vibrant tablecloths. Mark chuckled. "I didn't think anyone would care about a bingo night, but here we are." I noticed how his eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, a side of him I hadn't seen in years. While planning the fundraiser for housing initiatives, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was more than just an event. It was a way to give back to a community that had once felt like home. "Let's make this fundraiser memorable," I suggested one day, flipping through flyers. "We can incorporate stories from the seniors, share their experiences. Everyone can relate to the need for a safe space." Mark nodded. "That's a great idea. It'll really connect with people." With each project we tackled, I began to see him in a new light. He was not just my son anymore, but a partner in this mission. I could feel the walls between us slowly crumbling, replaced by laughter and shared stories. As we stood in the center's kitchen one evening, mixing batter for cookies to sell at the fundraiser, I watched him intently. "You know, I never truly appreciated how hard it is to organize these events," he admitted, licking his fingers. "It takes a lot of strength." I smiled. "Just like life. We all have our battles." Mark looked at me, and I could sense a shift in his understanding. I was more than just the mother who had fallen from grace. I was a woman of resilience, someone who had fought for her place in this world. One day, while taking a break outside, I spoke about my past. When your father and I lost everything, it felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. But I've learned that it's not about what we have. It's about who we are, and how we use our experiences to inspire others. He listened, really listened, as the weight of my words seemed to settle in. "Maybe that's why I've been struggling," he said quietly. "I've always felt like I needed to succeed, but I forgot what really matters. Connection, love, and helping others." Those words hung in the air, a moment of clarity for both of us. I could see that he was beginning to understand the depth of what I had experienced, and I felt a warmth spreading through me. As we prepared for the fundraiser, the community's excitement was palpable. We decorated the center with bright banners and cheerful balloons, laughter echoing in the halls. Each smile we shared reminded me of the importance of connection, not just with the community, but with each other. "Do you remember Grandma's stories about how they built their neighborhood?" I asked one evening as we hung decorations. Mark paused, recalling. "Yeah, she always said it was the little things that brought people together." "Exactly! That's why this fundraiser matters. We're not just raising money. We're creating a legacy." I could see his heart opening to the idea of legacy, of building something important together. It was as if each task we completed brought us closer, stitching together the fabric of our relationship with shared purpose. As the day of the fundraiser arrived, I stood by the entrance, welcoming guests. I felt a sense of pride, Not just for the event, but for how far Mark and I had come. "Look at everyone coming together," I said, my heart swelling with joy. He smiled. "It's incredible, isn't it?" And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, we stood side by side, united in our mission. The laughter of the community filled the air, and I believed with all my heart that this shared endeavor could heal our relationship. Could it really mend the fractures of the past? I hoped so, for both our sakes. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us now. Back to the story. Just when I thought things were finally on the mend, I received a letter from my landlord that felt like a punch to the gut. The notice stated my rent would be increasing significantly. My heart sank. Could this mean losing my home again? I couldn't believe it. I had fought so hard to keep my little space, and now it felt like all that effort was slipping through my fingers. I shared the news with Mark, my son, who immediately offered to help. "Mom, I can send you some money. We can figure this out together," he said, his brows furrowed with concern. But as he spoke, I felt a wave of pride wash over me. I didn't want to be a burden to him, even though I could see the sincerity in his eyes. It was hard for me to ask for help, to let someone else carry my weight. Why is it so difficult to accept help? I thought. It made me confront my fears of vulnerability and dependence. I knew I had to face this, but the thought of relying on my son felt like admitting defeat. "Mark, I appreciate it, but I've managed on my own for so long," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to put you in a tough spot." He looked at me, the kind of look that cut through my defenses. "Mom, I'm not worried about that. You've always been there for me. Let me be there for you now." His words hung in the air, between us, and I felt the walls I'd built around my heart start to crumble. I realized that accepting help didn't make me weak. It made us stronger. We spent hours brainstorming solutions, reaching out to local resources for assistance. The more we talked, the more I began to feel a flicker of hope. "What if we apply for a rental assistance program? There might be grants available for seniors," Mark suggested. I hadn't thought of that. It was a reminder that even in adversity there were options, paths to explore. I felt grateful for his support, even if accepting it was still a struggle. "Let's do it," I said, my voice gaining strength. "I'll reach out to some organizations tomorrow." As we navigated this situation together, I felt a shift in our relationship. It was as if we were both learning to trust each other in ways we hadn't before. I could see Mark growing more confident, and I was reminded of the days when he was small, looking up at me for guidance. Now, the roles felt reversed, but I was still his mother, and I would find a way to make this work. Each day brought new challenges, yet with Mark by my side, I felt less alone. We tackled the paperwork together, sharing laughter and stories that made the weight of our worries feel lighter. Alongside our efforts, I took time to reflect on my life. I thought about the memories this home held, family gatherings, birthday celebrations, and quiet nights with a book in hand. What would it mean to lose this place? The thought pierced my heart, but I held on to hope. As we explored our options, I started to understand that this journey was about more than just keeping a roof over my head. It was about legacy and resilience. It was about realizing that I could lean on my son, just as he had leaned on me all those years ago. "Mom," Mark said one evening, leaning back in his chair, "I know this is tough, but we'll find a way through it, together." His words echoed in my mind, resonating deep within me. Together. It felt like a promise, a bond that could not be broken. And in that moment, I decided that no matter what happened, I would fight for my home and for my family. Would we find a way to keep my home? I held on to that hope tightly, ready to face whatever came next. I stood at the front of the room, heart racing as I looked out at the faces gathered before me. Each person was a testament to the struggles we all faced, people who had endured the weight of rising rents and dwindling resources. Mark stood by my side, his presence a steadying force amid the uncertainty. When we decided to organize this meeting, I had no idea how many would come. But as I scanned the room, I felt a surge of empowerment. We were no longer just individuals grappling with our own challenges. We were a community ready to fight back. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in my chest. "Today, we're here not just to share our stories, but to take action." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. I could see the fire in their eyes, the determination they had to reclaim their lives. One by one, people stood up, sharing their experiences, how they were struggling to make ends meet, how they felt invisible in a system that seemed to favor the wealthy. "I'm tired of feeling powerless," a woman shouted from the back. "We deserve to have a roof over our heads, just like anyone else." Her words resonated deeply. I could feel the weight of her struggle echoing my own. As others chimed in, I realized how rich and varied our experiences were, like a tapestry woven from different threads. Each story added depth to our collective narrative. After hours of discussion, we began to draft a petition. I could see the lines of determination on Mark's face as he helped organize our thoughts. "Let's make sure our voices are heard," he encouraged. "We need to reach out to local officials and demand action on rent control." I felt a thrill at his words. This was more than just a meeting. It was the beginning of something bigger. Together, we were building a movement. As we finalized the petition, I glanced around the room. People were smiling, energized by the sense of unity that had blossomed among us. It was the feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. The sense that we were not alone in our fight, that together we could make a difference. Days turned into weeks, and our movement gained momentum. We gathered signatures, held rallies, and reached out to local media. I could hardly believe how far we had come. Each small victory felt monumental, a sign that change was possible. Mark was my rock through it all. I often caught him watching, me with a sense of pride, and it filled me with warmth. Our relationship had evolved too. We were no longer just two people sharing a home, but partners in a cause that meant everything to us. We often reminisced about the past, those quiet moments spent in our old living room, the sound of laughter ringing through the walls. It was a stark contrast to the chaos of our current battle, but I realized that those memories fueled my passion. I wanted to create a legacy, not just for myself, but for everyone in our community who was struggling. As I looked around at the faces of my neighbors, I felt a sense of purpose that I had thought was lost forever. This wasn't just about rent control. It was about dignity, about fighting for a future where everyone had a place to call home. But would our combined efforts be enough to create real change? The question loomed over me, heavy, yet hopeful. Deep down, I believed it could be. We were stronger together, and that unity could spark the change we so desperately needed. "Thank you all for your hard work," I said one evening as we wrapped up a planning session. "Let's keep pushing forward. We owe it to ourselves and to each other." A chorus of agreement filled the room, and in that moment, I knew we were not just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for a brighter future. The day of the public. Hearing arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. Mark stood beside me, a rock of support, as we prepared to present our case for affordable housing. The atmosphere in the packed room was electric, filled with the murmurs of community members sharing their stories. I could feel the energy vibrating through the air, a collective yearning for change. As we entered, I was struck by the faces around me. Some hopeful, others weary but determined. Each voice represented a struggle, a story, a plea for understanding. The weight of our shared experiences pressed upon me, yet it also invigorated me. I could sense the power of unity in that room. When my name was called, my heart raced. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the moment. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice steady despite the fluttering in my chest. "I'm here to share my journey, a journey that many of you might recognize. I lost my home, a place filled with memories, laughter, and love, because of decisions that were beyond my control." I glanced at Mark, who gave me a reassuring nod. His pride in me was palpable, fueling my courage. When my son chose his new life, he left me with nothing but heartache. I never imagined I'd find myself standing here today, advocating not just for myself, but for all of us who have faced similar hardships. The room was silent, every eye on me. I could see nods of understanding and empathy, and it filled me with hope. Affordable housing isn't just a policy issue. It's a lifeline. It's about families, about preserving our dignity, about ensuring that no one has to choose between a roof over their heads and the basic necessities of life. I shared stories of my neighbors, single mothers struggling to make ends meet, elderly folks forced from their homes, families torn apart by financial strain. Each story echoed in the hearts of those listening. We are not just statistics. We are people with dreams, memories, and futures that deserve to be protected. As I spoke, I could feel the emotions rising within me. Anger, sadness, determination. But above all, a fierce hope for change. Together, we can make our voices heard. We can advocate for policies that ensure everyone has access to safe and affordable housing. We can restore the sense of community that is so desperately needed. Finishing my speech, I looked around the room, my heart swelling with a sense of accomplishment. I had shared my truth, and in doing so, I felt a cathartic release. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all of us fighting for our rightful place in this world. Mark joined me at the podium, his smile brightening the room. "We can make a difference," he said, his voice strong. "If we stand together, if we refuse to be silenced." The audience erupted in applause, the sound reverberating through my bones. I felt alive, connected to every single person in that room. We had shared our struggles and our hopes, and somehow, it felt like a turning point. As we stepped down from the podium, I couldn't help but wonder, would our efforts lead to tangible change? I hoped with all my heart that they would. I gathered with the community, my heart racing as we stood in the center, waiting for the mayor's words to cut through the thick tension that hung in the air. Weeks of anticipation had led to this moment, and I could feel the weight of hope and anxiety pressing down on us all. When he finally spoke, announcing the decision to implement rent control measures, the cheers that erupted felt like music to my ears. I turned to Mark, and without a second thought, I wrapped my arms around him tightly. Tears streamed down my face, each drop carrying the relief of a long-fought battle. This wasn't just a victory for me. It was for everyone who had stood alongside us, shoulder to shoulder, in this fight for justice. I felt a warmth spread through me, a sense of belonging I hadn't experienced in far too long. As I looked into Mark's eyes, I saw a man transformed. The journey had changed us, deepening our bond in ways I never could have imagined. His determination and passion had inspired me, and I realized that together, we could continue to create positive change. "Do you see what we did?" I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. "This is just the beginning. We can keep pushing for more." Mark nodded, a fire ignited in his gaze. "Yes, we can. We need to keep this momentum going. There are still so many who need our help." In that moment, I understood that our fight was about more than just rent control. It was about legacy and the power of community. I thought about all those nights I spent alone, feeling like I had lost everything. I had a home once, a family. And now, I had found a new kind of family among these wonderful people, each with their own stories of struggle and resilience. I looked around at the faces of my neighbors, some older than me, others much younger. Each one of them had fought their own battles, and together we had built a network of support that felt unbreakable. Memories of my past blended with the hope for the future, and I felt transformed as I embraced this newfound purpose. "Let's not stop here," I said, raising my voice above the crowd. "Let's organize. Let's advocate for those who can't speak for themselves. Together we can make this city a better place." The cheers grew louder, and the energy surged through me like a wave. I could feel the weight of years of hardship lifting, replaced by a sense of empowerment. This wasn't just about me reclaiming my dignity. It was about all of us reclaiming our rights and our voices. As the celebration continued, I pulled Mark aside, wanting to share my thoughts privately. "I've been thinking about my life, about the things I used to care about. I realize now that I want to leave a legacy, something that lasts beyond my years. I want people to remember that we stood up for what was right." "Absolutely," Mark replied, his sincerity evident. "You've already done so much. You've inspired me and everyone else here. Your voice carries weight, and it's time we make sure it's heard." I smiled, feeling a newfound strength. "Then let's make a plan. We need to reach out to local organizations, engage with the youth, and share our stories. We need to show them that change is possible." Mark nodded enthusiastically. "I'll help you. We can set up meetings, create campaigns. Your story, my story. They can inspire others to join us." As I stood there, filled with hope and determination, I suddenly realized that my life had taken an unexpected turn. I had started from a deep place of loss, but now I was standing on the precipice of something greater. The world felt full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them all. "Do you think we can really make a difference?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper amidst the crowd. Mark looked me in the eye, his expression serious yet filled with warmth. "I know we can. Together, we can change lives." As we rejoined the celebration, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. This was my moment. Not just to reclaim what was mine, but to fight for a future where everyone had a place to call home. What more could we accomplish together? I never expected that the journey of reclaiming my life would bring me to this moment. With my son Mark sitting across from him, I could see the weight of our shared history in his eyes. We had both endured so much, and the pain was still fresh. But there was also a flicker of hope. "You know, Mark," I began, my voice steady but tender. "I've come to appreciate the support you gave me throughout everything. It meant more than you know." He nodded, his gaze softening. "I've realized how strong you truly are, Mom. I was lost in my own world, but seeing you fight back, it inspired me. Silence hung between us, a space filled with unspoken words and emotions. As we continued to talk, I could feel the walls we had built around our hearts begin to crumble. Trust, once shattered, was slowly being rebuilt. "I want us to have regular time together," I suggested, my heart racing at the thought of creating new memories. "Just you and me. We can go for walks, share meals, whatever it takes. I want to reconnect, to really know you again." "I'd like that," he replied, a genuine smile breaking through. "I promise to prioritize our bond. We've both changed, and we can't let the past define us." There was a sincerity in his promise that made me believe in the possibility of healing. I could see the man he was becoming, and I felt a surge of hope. Would we be able to fully heal? Could we forge a stronger relationship from the ashes of our past? I wanted to believe we could, and I was ready to embrace this journey together. As we discussed our plans, I recalled the countless moments we had lost, the laughter, the shared meals, and the simple joys. It was time to reclaim those moments. We would take back what was rightfully ours. "Remember that little diner we used to go to?" I asked, a smile creeping onto my face. "The one with the cherry pie?" Mark chuckled, his eyes lighting up with the memory. "Of course. You always said it was the best pie in town. We should go back there," I suggested. "Start making new memories, just like old times." "I'd love that," he said, excitement evident in his voice. "Let's make it happen." With each plan we made, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. This was more than just about repairing our relationship. It was about redefining it. "Mom, I know it won't be easy," he said, his tone shifting to something more serious. "But I want to be honest with you. I've struggled with how I treated you. I let my choices overshadow the love we had." "I know, Mark," I replied, my voice filled with understanding. "And I've had my own regrets. But we're here now, and that's what matters. We can't change the past, but we can shape our future." The conversation deepened, revealing layers of vulnerability that had been hidden for so long. We spoke about our fears, our dreams, and the lessons we had learned. I felt closer to him than I had in years. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the room, I felt a sense of peace. This was a fresh start. The road ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, but I was filled with hope. "Here's to new beginnings," I said, raising an imaginary glass. "To new beginnings," Mark echoed, his smile brightening the room. In that moment, I knew we were on the right path. Trust takes time to rebuild, but with each honest conversation, we were laying the foundation for a stronger bond. What would our journey look like moving forward? I was ready to find out. As spring blossomed around me, I felt a renewed sense of life in every corner. The world seemed to awaken with colors and scents that stirred something deep within my soul. Mark and I began to participate in community events together, our hearts swelling with the joy of giving back. Each Saturday, we volunteered at the local food bank, helping to distribute meals to families in need. I had never imagined I would find such a powerful purpose at this stage of my life. I discovered a passion for mentoring younger people, sharing my experiences and wisdom. It was as if I was rediscovering my own voice, one I had silenced for far too long. I started a weekly storytelling group at the community center, inviting others to join me in sharing their journeys. I remember the first gathering vividly, the nervous laughter, the hesitant voices. As I spoke about my past, I could see the spark of connection ignite in their eyes. "Everyone has a story worth telling," I said, my heart racing with excitement. Let's create a space where we can share and learn from each other. Mark often joined me, taking a seat among the eager faces. I loved watching him connect with others, sharing his own tale of resilience. Our bond deepened as we found joy in this shared purpose. I could see how much he enjoyed listening to others, how his face would light up when someone revealed their struggles and triumphs. It was a beautiful dance of vulnerability, and I cherished every moment. One evening, after a particularly moving session, a young woman approached me, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for creating this space," she said. "I've felt so alone, but hearing everyone share has made me realize I'm not. I can find my strength again." Her words struck a chord within me. I realized that this new chapter was about more than just rebuilding my relationship with Mark. It was about creating a legacy of compassion and resilience. Each story shared, each connection made, felt like a thread weaving us all together in a tapestry of hope. I often reflected on my past, the pain of being left homeless by my son. It had been a dark time, but now, as I stood amidst this vibrant community, I felt empowered. I was determined to help others find their voices too. I hoped that by sharing my journey, I could inspire them to embrace their own paths. "Mark," I said one evening as we sat on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. "Do you think we're making a difference?" He turned to me, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I believe we are, Mom. Every person we reach, every story we help unfold, is a step toward healing. Not just for them, but for us too." His words filled me with warmth. The realization that our efforts could ripple out into the world made my heart swell with hope. I had spent so long feeling like a victim of my circumstances, but now I felt like a warrior, ready to fight for others who felt lost or unheard. As the weeks passed, our storytelling group grew in size and spirit. Each session was filled with laughter, tears, and the healing power of shared experiences. We celebrated milestones, supported one another through hardships, and gradually, I could see people transforming, finding their strength in vulnerability. One day, as I prepared for our weekly gathering, I found myself reflecting on my own journey. I thought about the woman I was before, how lost and broken I had felt when my son left me. It was hard to believe that I had come this far, not just in rebuilding my life, but in thriving. I felt the weight of my past lift, replaced by a sense of purpose and connection. Can we inspire others to find their voices too? I wondered aloud, the question lingering in the air. As I stood there, surrounded by the vibrant life of the community blooming around me, I realized that the answer was yes. I was excited to see what the future would hold, knowing that even at my age, I could still make a difference. I was setting up for the community event, stringing lights and arranging chairs, when I felt a sudden jolt of recognition. There she was, my daughter Lily. It had been years since we last spoke, years filled with silence and hurt. My heart raced, a mix of excitement and trepidation washing over me. "Mom?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Lily," I managed to reply, the word escaping my lips like a long-lost melody. The years melted away in that instant, yet the weight of our past loomed large between us. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, both of us acutely aware of the chasm that had formed between parent and child. I could see the pain in her eyes, mirrored in my own. "How have you been?" she asked, her voice tinged with caution. "I've had my ups and downs," I said, forcing a smile. "But I'm surviving." I've learned to find beauty in the little things, Lily nodded, but her expression remained guarded. I've missed you, she finally admitted, her voice cracking slightly. My heart ached at her words. I've missed you too, darling. It's been so long. We stood there, two strangers caught in a familiar embrace, the air thick with unspoken words. I took a breath, ready to share my journey, how life had knocked me down but also helped me rise again. You know, after everything with your brother and his new wife, I found myself lost, homeless even. But I started over, Lily. I discovered new strength I never knew I had. She listened intently, the walls around her heart beginning to soften. I'm sorry for everything, Mom, she said, tears shimmering in her eyes. I thought I was doing what was best for my life, but I never considered how it affected you. It's okay, I replied, my voice steady. We all make mistakes, don't we? I made my share too, but we can learn from them. Lily wiped her tears, and I felt a surge of hope. I've had my struggles too, you know. It's been tough without you. I thought I was strong enough to handle it all, but she trailed off, vulnerability creeping into her words. What happened? I asked gently. I lost my job a few months back, she confessed, her shoulders slumping slightly. And then I broke up with my boyfriend. Everything felt so overwhelming. I reached out, placing a hand on her arm. You're not alone, Lily. We can face this together. I know we have our differences, but family should always come first. A flicker of understanding passed between us. It was as if the years of resentment and anger began to dissolve, revealing the love that still lingered beneath. I could see the familiar spark of the little girl I once knew, the one who used to run to me with scraped knees and a bright smile. I want to rebuild what we had, Lily said, her voice filled with a newfound determination. Can we try? I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Yes, let's try. One step at a time. The moment felt monumental, as if we were standing at the edge of a new beginning. I could sense the weight of our past still hanging over us. But for the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope. As we moved forward in our conversation, I couldn't help but wonder, could we truly mend our relationship after all this time? Would this unexpected reunion be the first step toward healing, or just another fleeting moment lost to the chaos of life? I took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. I was surprised to find how healing could come from the most unexpected places. Over the weeks, Lily and I began to meet regularly. We shared our stories, recounting the pain that had built a wall between us for so long. Each conversation felt like peeling away a layer of hurt, revealing a bond I thought was lost forever. In family therapy, we learned to communicate openly and honestly. I discovered that forgiveness wasn't just about absolving someone else. It was about freeing myself. I began to understand how crucial it was to let go of resentment, not just for my sake, but for Lily's as well. As we delved into our shared history, I felt the weight of anger lift. With each session, we rebuilt our connection, not as mother and daughter defined by past betrayals, but as two women ready to forge a future together. We attended community events side by side, creating new memories that began to overwrite the pain of the past. I encouraged her to join local initiatives, and I could see the spark in her eyes as she engaged with our neighbors. It was a beautiful reminder of the world outside our struggles, a world where we had the power to make a difference. Through this process, I learned that healing takes time, and that was okay. Each moment spent in dialogue, each shared laugh, brought us closer together. I cherished the small victories. The first time she looked me in the eye without hesitation. The way she smiled when I recounted a funny story from her childhood. Could we fully restore our relationship? I held on to hope. I believed we could, as long as we continued to work together with love and understanding. I felt a sense of purpose growing within me, a desire not just to heal, but to build a legacy of love and resilience for the generations to come. But the road to forgiveness was not without its bumps. There were days when old wounds would resurface, when the anger would threaten to consume me again. In those moments, I reminded myself of the journey we had taken together. I would pause, take a deep breath, and reflect on how far we had come. Why did it take us so long to get here? I asked Lily one afternoon, as we sat on the porch, the sunlight warming our faces. "I don't know, Mom," she replied, her voice soft with reflection. Maybe we both needed to learn how to forgive ourselves first. Her words struck a chord deep within me. I had spent so long blaming her for the choices she made, but I had never acknowledged my own mistakes. I had to forgive myself for letting our relationship become fractured. That realization opened a floodgate of emotions. I began to see the beauty in our imperfections, in the messy, complicated nature of love. We were both works in progress, learning to navigate the complexities of our past while striving for a brighter future. As we continued our therapy sessions, we delved into the intricacies of our family dynamics, discussing our fears and dreams. I learned to listen, truly listen, to Lily's thoughts and feelings. It was liberating to let go of the urge to control the narrative, to allow her to express herself without judgment. One evening, while we were preparing a meal together, Lily turned to me, her eyes glistening. "I never thought we would be like this again. It feels good." "It does," I agreed, stirring the pot of soup. "We're stronger together, aren't we?" She nodded, and in that moment I realized how far we had come. We had transformed our shared pain into a source of strength. The laughter we shared, the tears we shed, all became threads weaving our new tapestry of connection. With every passing day, we created a sanctuary of understanding, a space where healing blossomed. I could see a future where love and forgiveness reigned, where our relationship could thrive. As we continued to navigate this journey, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I knew that as long as we kept communicating, kept showing up for each other, we could overcome anything. Together, we were not just healing, we were becoming the women we were always meant to be, strong, resilient, and unbreakable. As summer approached, I felt a flicker of hope deep within me. It had been a long road since the day Mark had chosen his new life, leaving me to grapple with loss and betrayal. But now, I was determined to take a step forward. I decided to host a family gathering, inviting both Mark and Lily. It felt like a significant step in our healing journey, a chance to bridge the gap that had grown between us. In the days leading up to the event, I busied myself with preparations, cooking my famous lasagna, baking a cake, and even picking fresh flowers from my garden to create a centerpiece. I was excited yet nervous, my hands shaking slightly as I set the table. I could almost hear my late husband's voice in my head, reminding me of the importance of family. When the day finally arrived, I woke up with a sense of anticipation bubbling inside me. The sun was shining, and the scent of blooming flowers filled the air. As I finished setting up, I couldn't help but feel that I was creating not just a meal, but a moment, a chance for us to reconnect, to remember what it meant to be a family. As the clock struck 3, the doorbell rang and my heart raced. I opened the door to find Mark standing there, a hesitant smile on his face. He looked different. More mature, perhaps. "Hi, Mom," he said, stepping inside. I couldn't help but notice the way he scanned the room, perhaps searching for remnants of the home he once knew. "Mark, I'm so glad you made it," I replied, trying to hide the lump in my throat. Lily followed closely behind him, her presence bringing a mix of warmth and apprehension. "It smells amazing in here," she exclaimed, glancing at the kitchen. I could see her trying to absorb the atmosphere, and I hoped she felt welcomed. We gathered around the table, and as we shared laughter and stories, I felt the warmth of love surrounding us. The aroma of comfort food filled the air, mingling with the sound of our voices. I watched as Mark and Lily interacted, sharing jokes and teasing each other. A sense of relief washed over me as I realized they were finding common ground. "Remember when we used to camp in the backyard?" I said, a smile spreading across my face. "You and your brother would always argue about who got the bigger tent." Mark chuckled, his eyes lighting up. "Yeah, and I always let Lily have it, didn't I?" Lily laughed, nudging him playfully. "You just didn't want to sleep outside alone." I couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia wash over me, the memories flooding back like a warm tide. It was a beautiful reminder of the importance of family and connection, of the laughter we shared, the love we had built. As the evening progressed, I caught moments of quiet reflection. I thought about how far we had come since my world had turned upside down. These second chances felt fragile yet precious, like the delicate flowers I had arranged just days before. Could we continue this newfound harmony? My heart ached with the question. But there was also a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the laughter, the shared meals, and the bonds we were rebuilding. I hoped we could hold on to this moment, that we could create more memories together. As dessert was served, I watched Mark and Lily lean in closer, their laughter echoing through the room. The way they interacted felt like a promise, a glimpse into a future where love could conquer the past. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to heal together. "Here's to family." I raised my glass, my voice steady, yet filled with emotion. May we always find our way back to each other. They clinked their glasses with mine, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. I was grateful for this moment, this gathering, and the hope that we could move forward, together. As the leaves began to change color, I felt something shift within me, much like the world around me. The crisp air carried the scent of possibility, and for the first time in a long while, I was ready to embrace it. I had spent years in the shadow of my son's choices, but now it was my turn to discover what lay ahead. I took up painting, something I had always dreamed of but never pursued. Each stroke of the brush felt like a release, a way to express emotions that had been bottled up for too long. I remember the first time I set up my easel in the sunlit corner of my small apartment. The canvas stared back at me, blank and inviting. I dipped my brush into vibrant colors, feeling a surge of joy as I created something entirely mine. Mark, my dear friend, often joined me, and together we transformed our humble space into a gallery of laughter and creativity. We were far from skilled, but that didn't matter. We would giggle at our clumsy attempts, reveling in the freedom of creation. "Look at this masterpiece!" I'd exclaim, pointing to a splotch of blue that resembled nothing and everything at once. Mark would grin and say, "It's a reflection of our souls, messy but full of life." Those moments became my sanctuary, a place where I could forget the heartache of the past. I realized that embracing change wasn't just about adapting, it was about finding joy in the unexpected. With each session, I felt empowered. Maybe I could inspire others through my journey, sharing my story of resilience and hope. So I began to write a memoir, documenting everything I had endured. The words flowed as I reflected on my life, the love I had shared, the heartbreak that had nearly crushed me, and the strength I had unearthed in my darkest hours. Each page turned into a cathartic release, a way to reclaim my narrative. I often wondered, would my memoir resonate with those who needed hope? I believed it would. As I poured my heart onto the pages, I couldn't help but think about the women I had met in the shelter, each with their own battles. I wanted them to see that change was possible, that new beginnings could emerge from the ashes of their old lives. I believed in the power of stories, how they could connect us, heal us, and remind us we are not alone. "Do you think it will help someone?" I asked Mark one evening, as we both took a break from our creative endeavors. He looked thoughtful, his brush poised mid-air. "I think it could change lives," he replied, his voice steady and reassuring. "You have a gift for words, and your journey is a light for others." Those words ignited a fire within me. I began to envision the women sitting in their own corners, clutching my book, finding solace in the pages. What if they could see themselves in my struggles? What if they could find courage in my story? Change is never easy, but as the seasons turned, I realized it was essential for growth. I felt a sense of joy bubbling up inside me, a warmth that chased away the remnants of my past. I was no longer just a mother who had been cast aside. I was a woman reclaiming her life, her art, and her voice. The world outside my window transformed with every passing day, and I was grateful for the beauty of it all. The colors of the leaves mirrored the vibrancy I was beginning to feel within myself. I was ready to share my journey, to open up and connect with others who might be walking a similar path. What would my story mean to them? I felt a flutter of excitement as I imagined the possibilities. With each brushstroke and every word I penned, I was embracing change and, in turn, discovering who I truly was. I never thought I'd be standing before a crowd, sharing my story of loss. But there I was, at a local conference about housing rights and social justice, feeling a mix of trepidation and hope. I had been invited to speak, not just about my experiences, but to give a voice to those who felt unheard. As I looked out at the audience, I saw faces filled with passion, determination, and a longing for change. "Thank you for having me here today," I began, my voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in my stomach. "I'm here to share a journey of resilience, loss, and the power of community." I took a deep breath, recalling the moment my son had chosen his new wife over me, leaving me homeless and shattered. When my son left, it felt as if my entire world had crumbled. I had devoted my life to raising him, to giving him everything I could. Yet, in an instant, I was cast aside. But I realized that my experience wasn't just mine. It mirrored the struggles of so many others who face similar injustices every day. The audience shifted, nodding in understanding. I felt a spark of connection, a reminder that we were all in this together. This isn't just about my story. It's about igniting change. It's about fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. There are countless individuals and families who find themselves in precarious situations, lacking a safe place to call home. We need to band together, to advocate for housing rights and social justice, to demand compassion in our communities. I could see the enthusiasm growing in the room, and it filled me with purpose. Compassion is the key. We must remember that behind every statistic is a human being, a life story waiting to be told. My story is but one thread in the vast tapestry of our society, and I hope it inspires you to speak out for those who feel voiceless. Suddenly, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was no longer just the old woman who had lost everything. I was a voice for the voiceless. Together, we can transform our communities. Together, we can create a world where no one has to face homelessness or despair alone. As I finished, the applause surged around me, drowning out my doubts. I had shared my heart, and in doing so, I felt a sense of belonging and purpose. Can we truly make a difference? I asked, my gaze sweeping over the crowd, searching for a glimmer of hope reflected back at me. I believe we can. Let's start today. The energy in the room was palpable, a collective determination to spark change. I knew this was just the beginning, not only for me but for everyone who had ever felt unheard. I was overwhelmed after the conference. It felt like a tidal wave of messages crashed over me, each one a testament to the power of vulnerability. Strangers I'd never met were reaching out, sharing their struggles, their heartaches, their triumphs. They thanked me for giving them hope, for showing them that they weren't alone. In those moments, I felt an inexplicable bond with each person. Their words resonated with me, reinforcing my belief in the transformative nature of sharing our experiences. I realized that my story was merely a thread in a much larger tapestry of human connection. So I decided to host workshops. I wanted to create a safe space where others could share their stories too. The first gathering was small, just a handful of us sitting in a circle, our eyes glistening with unspoken pain and unyielding hope. Who wants to start? I asked, my heart racing. A young woman spoke up first, her voice quivering. I lost my job last year and my husband left me. I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. As she shared her journey, I could see the weight she carried. It was palpable, a burden I recognized all too well. I listened intently, offering support and encouragement, and as she spoke, I felt a wave of empathy wash over me. More stories followed. A man shared how he had been estranged from his family for years, the pain of his loneliness evident in his eyes. Another woman described her battle with addiction and the long road to recovery. Each narrative was a reminder of our shared humanity, a reminder that we all have struggles, but we also have strength. With every story shared, I could feel the ripple effect growing. It wasn't just about what I had been through. It was about all of us, coming together to forge a community built on empathy and understanding. Thank you for allowing us to share, one participant said, her voice steady now. I thought I was alone, but now I see we're all in this together. Those words echoed in my mind, fueling my determination to keep this movement alive. I envisioned workshops expanding, reaching more people, creating a network of support that could transcend our individual stories and create lasting change. As the weeks passed, I found myself more energized. I developed deeper relationships with those I met in our circles. We became cheerleaders for one another, celebrating small victories and offering shoulders to cry on during tough times. I remember one evening, sitting around a fire after a workshop, the soft glow illuminating our faces. Someone asked, "Do you think sharing our stories can truly change the world?" I smiled, surprised by the question's weight. "I believe it can," I replied. "Every time we share our truth, we chip away at the walls that divide us. We create bridges where there were once chasms. That night, I felt a profound sense of purpose. I was no longer just a woman who had lost everything. I was a catalyst for change, a vessel for hope. In the days that followed, I poured my heart into the workshops. I organized themes around legacy, memory, and transformation, guiding participants to reflect on their pasts and how those experiences shaped who they were today. I watched as people began to thrive. Their stories of hardship evolved into narratives of resilience. They inspired one another, creating a community that was not just about sharing pain, but also about celebrating growth and possibility. As the ripple effect continued to widen, I couldn't help but feel proud of what we were building together. Could we really create lasting change through our shared narratives? I believed we could. And as I stood before those brave souls who dared to share, I felt excitement bubbling within me, eager to see where this journey would lead us next. I took a moment to reflect on the journey of the past year, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me. I had faced the unimaginable, but somehow I emerged stronger and more resilient than I ever thought possible. My relationships with Mark and Lily had transformed into something I never anticipated, something beautiful, built on trust and understanding. Looking back at my advocacy work, I saw the community we had nurtured together. Each challenge we faced had led to growth and connection, reminding me of the importance of love and support. The pain I experienced was not in vain. It had shaped me into the woman I was today. I felt hopeful for the future, knowing I could continue to make a difference. I wondered, could my story inspire others to find their voices? The thought lingered in my mind, a spark of hope igniting within me. As I sat there, memories flooded back, moments of laughter shared, tears shed, and victories celebrated. I recalled the day I stood before a crowd, my heart racing as I spoke about the injustices faced by those who were marginalized. The faces of those listening, some nodding in agreement, others with tears in their eyes, reminded me of the power of connection. We were all in this together, fighting the same battles, striving for a world where everyone felt seen and heard. I thought of the times I questioned my worth, wondering if I had anything valuable to offer. But I learned that my experiences, my struggles, and my triumphs were my greatest assets. They were the threads that wove the tapestry of my life, rich with color and texture. I realized that I had a unique voice, shaped by the years of love, loss, and resilience. The memories of my son's departure still stung, but I understood now that it was a catalyst for change, a push towards a new beginning. I could not allow myself to dwell in bitterness. Instead, I chose to embrace the lessons learned and the strength gained. I wanted to forge a new path, one that honored my past while looking forward to what lay ahead. As I stood up, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I would continue to advocate for those who felt voiceless, to stand for justice in a world that often turned a blind eye. I was determined to create spaces where people could come together, share their stories, and heal. I thought about the moments where I felt lost, navigating through the darkness. But in those moments of despair, I found allies, kindred, spirits who understood my struggles and fought alongside me. Together we built a community rooted in empathy and compassion, where everyone was welcome and every story mattered. I knew that my journey was far from over. I had many more battles to fight, and I felt the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. But I also felt the warmth of support from those around me, the love of my newfound family. With each passing day, I was reminded that transformation is possible, no matter how daunting the circumstances may seem. My heart swelled with hope, for I had witnessed the power of resilience firsthand. And as I reflected on my journey, I couldn't help but wonder, what stories remained to be told? Would my experiences resonate with others? Would they find strength in my journey, just as I had found strength in theirs? I held on to that hope tightly, a guiding star leading me forward. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that my voice could inspire others to rise, to reclaim their stories, and to step boldly into the light. How many lives could I touch with the strength of my journey? As I stood in front of the crowd, my heart swelled with a mix of gratitude and nervousness. I had spent countless hours pouring my soul into this memoir, and today was the day it would finally be shared with the world. The community center buzzed with the warmth of familiar faces, friends, neighbors, and even a few strangers who had heard my story and felt compelled to come. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their expectations and the love that surrounded me. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "When I started writing, I never imagined it would lead me to this moment. This book is not just about my life. It's a tapestry woven from the threads of resilience, love, and the power of community." The room fell silent, hanging on my every word. I could see nods of understanding, faces reflecting their own struggles and triumphs. I continued. "Each chapter is a lesson learned, a story shared, and a reminder that we are never truly alone in our journeys. I wrote it as a testament to the strength we all possess when faced with adversity." As I spoke, I glanced at the faces, in the front row, my dear friends, who had stood by me through thick and thin. I could see Maya, her eyes glistening with tears of pride, and James, who had been my rock when I felt like crumbling. I hope that my words inspire you to embrace your own stories. We all have a narrative that deserves to be told, filled with moments of joy, heartbreak, and everything in between. The applause that followed felt like a warm embrace. It was a collective acknowledgement of the struggles we had all faced, a recognition of the strength that lay within each of us. I felt a deep connection to everyone present, a reminder that this gathering was not just about my achievements, but about all of us coming together to celebrate our shared humanity. "What if," I posed, allowing a moment of silence to hang in the air, "what if we could turn our pain into a legacy of hope? What if our stories could spark change in the world around us?" I could see the spark of interest in the crowd, the way they leaned in closer, eager to hear more. I stand here today, not just as a woman who's faced hardship, but as a testament to the power of community and love. Together we can lift each other up, we can share our burdens, and we can create a world where no one feels alone. The warmth in the room intensified, radiating from the faces that reflected understanding and compassion. I could feel the energy shift as I shared my vision, my dream of a legacy that extended beyond my own experiences. This is more than just my story. It is our collective narrative of hope. Together we can be the change we wish to see. As I wrapped up my speech, I glanced around the room one last time, soaking in the moment. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. May we all embrace our stories, share our legacies, and inspire one another to reach for the stars. The applause roared, and for a fleeting moment I felt invincible. I had shared my truth, and in doing so, I had ignited a fire within the hearts of those present. Would this be the legacy I leave behind? I believed it would be a legacy of hope and resilience, one that we could all carry forward together. As I held my memoir in my hands, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. This moment was a new beginning, not just for me, but for everyone who had inspired and supported me along the way. I looked around the room, filled with friends, family, and community members who had all played a part in my journey. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice steady despite the emotion bubbling beneath the surface. When I set out to share my story, I didn't just want to tell you about loss. I wanted to talk about resilience, the connections we forge, and the enduring power of love. The faces in the crowd reflected a myriad of experiences, some worn by time, others bright with hope. I felt a renewed sense of purpose as I glanced at them, each one a testament to the strength that comes from community. "You see, this isn't just my story," I continued, my heart swelling. "It's ours. Together we have created a movement, advocating for those who feel unheard. We are the voices of change, carrying the weight of our shared experiences." I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable energy that bound us all together. "Could we build a brighter future together?" I asked, my heart racing. "I believe we can." A wave of murmurs and nods rippled through the audience, each person echoing their commitment to this cause. As I turned the pages of my memoir, I felt the stories within take flight, each chapter a stepping stone on the path to healing. The memories, both painful and joyous, were woven together into a tapestry of life lessons. "I want you all to know that it's never too late to start anew," I said, my voice unwavering. "Each of us has the power to transform our lives and the lives of others. It's in the small acts of kindness, the moments of connection, and the courage to speak out that we find our strength." I could see the tears in the eyes of some, and it reminded me of my own journey, the nights spent wondering if I would ever find my way back, the days of uncertainty that felt endless. But through it all, I learned to stand tall, I said, my voice rising with conviction. I took back what was mine, my dignity, my worth, and my voice. And now, I invite you to join me on this journey. Together we can lift each other up and create a world where no one feels alone. The applause erupted around me, a chorus of support that filled the room. I took a deep breath, feeling the love and encouragement wash over me like a warm embrace. I'm excited to embark on this journey with all of you. I concluded, my heart full. Let's make a difference in the lives of others. Let's be the change we wish to see in the world. As I looked into the faces of my friends and family, I knew that this was just the beginning. What if we could transform our pain into purpose and inspire others to do the same? As I stepped into the future, a wave of hope and excitement washed over me. My journey had been a tapestry of experiences, some joyful, others painful. But each moment had woven its own lesson into the fabric of my life. I looked around at the familiar faces of Mark and Lily, their smiles brightening my spirit as we gathered to plan new projects for our community. Together we envisioned a future where we could continue to advocate for change, where our voices would resonate with those who felt unheard. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Mark said, his eyes sparkling with determination. I nodded, reflecting on the trials we had faced. "It feels like just yesterday I was fighting to reclaim my home and my dignity. Now here we are, ready to uplift others." Lily chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "We have so much potential. Imagine the impact we can make if we all come together." Her words ignited a fire in my heart. I could see it clearly. A community thriving, united in purpose and passion. The memories of my past struggles, the pain of losing my son to a new life, had transformed into a source of strength. I had learned that even in the darkest moments, there is a glimmer of light waiting to be discovered. Let's focus on the youth, I suggested, feeling the energy in the room shift. They are the future, and we need to empower them with the tools to create change, Mark nodded. I know a few young people who would love to get involved. They're hungry for guidance and inspiration. As we brainstormed, I felt a sense of purpose enveloping me like a warm blanket. It was no longer just about my pain. It was a collective journey filled with love, resilience, and hope. I wanted to be a beacon for others, to show them that transformation is possible, no matter the obstacles. What about hosting workshops? Lily proposed, her eyes lighting up. We can teach skills that would help the community thrive economically. I smiled, imagining the faces of those who might benefit. Yes, and we can share stories, our stories, to inspire others to rise above their circumstances, Mark added. And we should document everything. The journey, the struggles, the successes. It's important for our legacy. His words resonated deeply with me. Legacy. It was a word that had taken on new meaning in my life. I wanted to leave behind more than just memories. I wanted to leave a movement, a testament to the strength of community and the power of standing together. As we continued to plan, I felt a sense of urgency mingled with excitement. The challenges we faced were daunting, but the potential for positive change was immense. Each idea we shared was a step toward a brighter tomorrow. Yet, as I embraced this future, I couldn't help but reflect on my past. The heartbreak of losing my son to a new life weighed heavy in my heart. How could he have forgotten everything we built together? But as I looked at Mark and Lily, I realized that every ending is a new beginning. I might have lost a part of my family, but I had gained a new family in this community. Together we could create a legacy of love and compassion, a network of support that could uplift even the most downtrodden. Do you think we can really make a difference? I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. Mark smiled reassuringly. Absolutely. Change starts with us. If we believe in it, others will too. Lily leaned in closer, her voice strong. We can't do it alone, but together, we're unstoppable. Their faith in our mission filled me with a renewed sense of purpose. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, armed with the knowledge that I was not alone. My journey wasn't just my own. It was shared with those who believed in hope and change. Could we continue to uplift others and create positive change? I believed we could, and I was eager to find out just how far we could go. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot